Coach Harvey Hyde is heard right here on KSHP North Las Vegas, AM and FM, K29 6HP North Las Vegas, and KSHP.com.
The views and opinions expressed in the following program are those of the program's participants and do not necessarily reflect those of station staff, management, and advertisers.
It's time for the most interactive radio program in Las Vegas today. It's time for Pushing the Limits with Brian Shapiro. Brian will talk sports, politics, entertainment, and anything that matters to you. Feel free to call Brian at 702-221-7283.
You want answers? I want the truth!
Now, Pushing the Limits, here's Brian Shapiro.
All right, what's up, everybody? Happy Friday. It is Pushing the Limits. Thank you so much for joining us. Happy Nevada Day, by the way, out there, everybody. Heading out to the Vegas Golden Knights game at 3 o'clock today. Now, let me just start off by giving you a quick rundown on what we're going to be doing. The former Nevada Republican Chair, Amy Tarkanian, is going to be joining us in studio at the bottom of the hour. Gosh, I love having Amy on the show for so many different reasons. We don't always agree on everything, but I certainly have a ton of respect for her. And calling out the MAGAs out there. I love it when Republicans do that, and I have a great amount of respect for them. And even though I might not agree with them all the time, it means they're decent people. And there's no question that Amy Tarkanian and her husband Danny, they're good people, good parents, and I respect that. And Amy's got a lot to say about the GOP, so she's going to be joining us at the bottom of the hour. So I can't say a lot about this right now, but I'll say a little bit about it because people are wondering, Brian, why are you all dressed up? Brian, why are you wearing this on the show today? I'm going to probably say more on social media eventually when the time is right, and I probably will be officially announcing things on social media, but I am collaborating with the group Occupy Democrats. They are using my show on their platform, which I'm honored, and I'll be giving you a little bit more information on that, but I'm very excited to be collaborating with them, and they have a huge audience, 10 million followers on Facebook. I think they have 19 million followers on all their platforms, which is like insane, and they're a great organization, so I'm very happy to be teaming up with them and moving forward, so really excited about that, and it gives me a huge audience. So I'm really honored and privileged, and I'll be talking a little bit more about that and how we're collaborating once they make an official statement. But I wanted to start by saying that. So I want to give you the latest information on this main shooting suspect and whether they're going to find him or not and what's going on here. So the latest news that I can bring to you today is that authorities within the hour just found a suicide note. I think you can characterize it as a suicide note because the shooter basically said by the time you're reading this, and I'm kind of paraphrasing the gist of what police are saying, but he pretty much said by the time you're reading this note, I'll probably be dead. To me, that's probably a suicide note, and he probably took his own life. To me, that's not him saying, I'm going to be killed by police. So where's the investigation now? What they know is that his car was left at a boating dock. Now, I can guess what I think happened here. I don't know for sure. It's speculation. But I would guess that a man that is probably suicidal, mentally ill, and he just killed 18 innocent people and injured dozens of others, I would imagine he probably took his own life. Because inevitably he also knew, because that's what cowards do that are criminals, and I would eventually he knew he was going to get caught and he'd be on the run. I think he's in that water somewhere. So what investigators are doing now is they're going to be searching the water probably for weeks until they find him. That's where I think he is. I'd be shocked if he was still alive. So that's the latest on that. I didn't want to take too much time to talk about this killer. And, I can't even imagine what it would be like, because I've never been in a situation like this before. Sadly, some of you have the October 1 shooting right in our backyard. I can't imagine what it must be like. You're with your friends, maybe your family, maybe your girlfriend or boyfriend, whatever the case may be. You're just out relaxing, having a good time. You're going bowling with your friends. And then in a split second, your life either ends or changes forever as a madman goes in there with an assault weapon and just starts spraying bullets and killing as many people as possible. We're hearing about the heroes, and I actually, in this segment, want to take a lot more time to talk about them, quite frankly, than talk about this despicable animal who decided to execute so many innocent people. He also did the same thing at a restaurant. And we're learning heroic stories about the owner who confronted the shooter. He lost his life because of that. Another person who came at him with a knife. And obviously, these idiotic arguments. The attorney, with all due respect, Eric Friday, who came on yesterday, who tried to make an analogy and a comparison between a knife and an AR-15. Well, obviously, this hero who did everything he could and came out the shooter with a knife did not win that fight. I wish he did, but he didn't. Because if you have an assault weapon, you're going to win that fight against somebody with a knife. So please stop it with those horrific comparisons. Well, what about knife attacks? I applaud this hero, and we're going to get into this, for doing everything he could to stop the shooter. He died a hero. But if you have an AR-15, you're going to win that fight against somebody with a knife. But I do want to take some time, and I want to talk about the victims today. And I'll be perfectly frank with you. I hope this shooter didn't take his own life. I hope they capture him, and I hope he suffers every day for the rest of his life. I am for capital punishment, by the way. I always have been. Now, they haven't identified every victim yet. We do know at least 18 people have died and dozens have been injured, some very serious, that are in the hospital. Among some of the victims is a 53-year-old lady by the name of Tricia Asselin. She worked part-time at the Just-in-Time Reaction and unfortunately was at that bowling alley Wednesday night when the shooting began. Her brother DJ told CNN that Johnson said that Tricia ran to the counter and was trying to call 911 when she was shot. She is obviously a hero. His other sister, Bobby Nichols, said was also at the bowling alley and managed to escape. She didn't find out about her sister's death until hours afterwards. And Nichols said, "My sister is a hero," and she's 100% correct. When in that type of situation, the first thing you don't do is hide, but the first thing you try to do is get to a phone to call 911, you're damn right she's a hero. Cost her life, hero. Peyton Brew Ross was playing in a cornhole tournament when he was killed. His brother Ralph said that he loved playing cornhole and spending time with friends at the bar and grill, and he also enjoyed comics and playing games. Peyton has a 2-year-old daughter. Just celebrated her birthday 2 weeks ago. And that 2-year-old Ellie is now going to be raised without her father, who was tragically killed. 34-year-old Tommy Conrad was also gunned down. He was the manager at the bowling alley, and he is survived by his 9-year-old daughter. And reports are confirming that Tommy lunged at the shooter, trying to save others' lives and trying to disarm the shooter, and it cost him his own life. A hero who will always be remembered by everybody as a hero and should be. 34 years old with a 9-year-old daughter. This is tough stuff to talk about, but it's important to talk about because I'd rather be talking about the heroes and the victims and their legacy than talking about this piece of human scum who took their lives needlessly. Or instead of like some of these people on the far right who put out a one-sentence tweet, thoughts and prayers. You're all despicable turds is what you are. Yes, I do have anger in my heart for these Republicans out there that refuse to do anything. You think I enjoy doing this every day? Talking about all these innocent victims that have lost their lives? And I have to hear Republicans every day talk about thoughts and prayers? Drives me nuts. Michael Dolores, known as a selfless individual who would never miss an opportunity to crack a joke at someone at someone else's expense. Sounds like me. Quite frankly, I think I would get along with this guy. Michael sounded like a funny guy. I love that. I love people like that. He would happily give you the shirt off his back, said his sister. His sister said that he died alongside his childhood best friend, and his loss quote, leaves a gaping hole with their family, and I'm sure it does. And my thoughts and prayers with Michael's family. He sounded like a great guy. Max Hathaway, a father of two, with a third child on the way. He was a full-time stay-at-home dad. God bless him. God rest his soul. His sister said he was goofy, down-to-earth person, loved to joke around, always had an uplifting attitude no matter what was going on. And they have a GoFundMe page up there. I would say anybody go on there and help the family if you can. 40-year-old Brian McFarland was participating in that cornhole tournament. You know, it's interesting. I never played cornhole before, but I've seen people play it. It looks like a lot of fun. Have a couple drinks with some friends. It sounds like a good time. And it sounds like everybody was having a good time until this happened. Brian's sister says that he was part of the local deaf community, which usually gathers at the restaurant to play cornhole on Wednesdays. McFarland was one of the first deaf people in the state of Vermont to get his commercial trucking driver's license. He loved riding his motorcycle and hanging out with his dog named Eminem. This is really hard. I didn't think I would be breaking down here talking about this, but this is really hard. One of my first jobs when I was 18, I worked at the American School for the Deaf, which is it's like a high school for people that are deaf in West Hartford, Connecticut. In fact, it's one of the biggest high schools. Wonderful people. I learned a little bit of sign language. I was able to communicate with them. When I was in college, freshman and sophomore in college, I needed to make a little extra money. I was lucky enough to get a job there. It was a really good job. I did security work there. Not a lot, maybe 15 hours a week, but I was a college student, and the people could not have treated me any nicer. And when I heard about these people who are part of the deaf community that died here, that's the first thing I thought about. I thought about my relationships and some of those people I'm still in contact with on social media that I used to work with. Wonderful people. Billy Brackett is also being mourned by the deaf community. The news of his death was confirmed by his brother-in-law after the family couldn't immediately locate him following all the gunfire. He died at that bar and grill as well. Joshua Seal was also taking place in the cornhole tournament for deaf athletes. He worked at the Pine Tree Society and was there the director of interpreting services. He's known as a tireless advocate for the deaf community who was committed to creating safe space for deaf people and was widely known as an ALS interpreter for Dr. Shah's pandemic briefings. Arthur Strout had just left the restaurant minutes before, his father had just left the bowling alley, or the restaurant, minutes before receiving a call that there was an active shooter at the restaurant. Strout leaves behind several of his children. His father had left right before the shooting. And then there's the manager at this Shemenji's, I believe that's how you pronounce it, this restaurant. He was the manager, and his father said he was a city councilor in nearby city Auburn. State police told Joseph's wife he had been killed after picking up a knife. This was the man who picked up a knife and tried to stop the gunman. What a hero. I guess you never know how you're going to react when you're in a situation like that. But I guess my first reaction is, boy, if I was in an active shooter situation, I'd want to get the hell out of there, hide, do whatever I could to help me or anybody else. I don't know what I would do, but this guy's first reaction was to risk his own life as the manager, and I would imagine that would be a part of it. He took that responsibility, and he picked up a knife, and boy, I wish he won this battle. Boy, I wish he stopped this guy, and he did. I'm sure he did everything he could, and it costed him his own life. And then there's the story of a father and a son that spent the last moments together alive at the bowling alley Wednesday night. Bill Young and Aaron Young. Aaron was only 14 years old. He was with his dad on a Wednesday night, just enjoying a game of bowling. I hate having to describe. I'm happy to describe their lives, the victims, and their heroes, and they deserve to be remembered as such. Folks, I'm getting sick of doing this. I really am. It's getting old. Innocent Americans are dying every day. And while the first person I blame is the person, of course, who pulls the trigger, yes, people kill people, but guns are an easy tool for people to use to kill other people. And people want to know why I yell sometimes. I call it passion. I'm passionate because I don't want innocent people to die. And we are a country that is obsessed with our guns. What we are doing today in society is not working. It's not working. Changes need to be made. And until these changes are made, nothing is going to change. Nothing. And it breaks my heart to have to tell these personal stories of all these individuals that have lost their lives. It breaks my heart. Numchuck, why don't you take the microphone, because I can't read what you're showing me, and tell me what we got here. What do you got for me?
So I have a little bit of audio from Leroy Walker, who is
This is the father.
is
right?
the father of Joey.
The father of Joey, who was the manager of the bowling alley, right? Am I getting that correctly? This is the father who was talking to CNN. Here's what he had to say about his son.
You can't run around this world hating people. If you do, these kind of things will happen more and more. They may be only individual things that happen, but if you hate, and the hate drives you crazy, you're going to hurt people. And I've had my ups and downs in my life, and I don't want anyone to hurt me, and I don't want to hurt anybody. And I'm sure this man, whatever happened to his mind, I'm sure he wasn't born to be a killer. And he's got I'm sure, a father and a mother that would have never believed this would have happened with him. So all I can say is I'm sorry that it's happened to all of us, and I'm sorry what may happen to him. And God will prevail.
It's just
Hate will never bring my son back.
no.
Well, my heart goes out to that man. You could hear the hurt in his voice. He just lost his son. And by the way, I say again, his son's a hero. His son went after the shooter with a knife in his hand, and I think most of us would say, unless you have 7 or 8 people doing that, and even there's no guarantee there, you're not going to win that battle, unfortunately. And my thoughts go out to him. And I'm not one of those douchebag Republicans that says thoughts and prayers. My heart goes out to all these families. All 18 families that are suffering today, losing a loved one, with Christmas and the holidays right around the corner. And all these dozens and dozens and dozens of people that have been injured, their lives are never going to be the same either. Ask people who were at the October 1 shooting, those, especially those who were injured. Their lives have never been the same. I happen to know one of them personally, a friend of mine who was shot in the lower back. She lived here in Vegas. She had to move back to California with her mom, and luckily she can walk, but her life has never been the same. After the loss of life and the 18 individuals that were lost, there's a lot of other people out there that were injured, and their lives will never be the same either. And what is the despicable Lauren Boebert, the disgraceful individual, saying? Is she going on social media this morning and talking about gun control as a lawmaker, which is a joke because she's not? What is Lauren Boebert saying? She's defending guns. Of course, that's what these right-wing despicable individuals do. So Lauren Boebert goes on social media this morning. What did she say? She said, I'm not going to be lectured about gun safety by people who think the AR in AR-15 stands for assault rifle. You empty, despicable turd, you. You disgrace of a human being, Lauren Boebert. You disgrace. Notice how you're supposed to be a lawmaker, but Lauren Boebert has nothing to say about solutions. Same thing with this idiot who's the new House Speaker. He talks about prayer. That's what these right-wing idiots will do. They'll talk about prayer and thoughts and prayers, and they'll have nothing to say other than, defending guns. And more guns are the answer, not less guns. Make no mistake about it, ladies and gentlemen. I blame the shooter. He's number one. And I hate to use a sports analogy, but I am in this situation. This shooter got an assist from MAGA Republicans who care more about an A-plus rating from the NRA than safety and the safety of the American people. And Johnson, who is a despicable human being, as far as I'm concerned, a right-wing radical, had only this statement to say after the shooting. Have a listen to this.
This is a dark time in America. We have a lot of problems, and we're really, really hopeful and prayerful. Prayer is appropriate in a time like this, that the evil can end and this senseless violence can stop. And so that's the statement this morning on behalf of the entire House of Representatives. Everyone wants this to end, and I'll leave it there.
No, sir, you don't represent all the representatives, you sicko, you empty-worded freak, you right-wing radical piece of human garbage. That's what you are. Prayer is not going to stop evil, you ignorant, despicable, right-wing Christian turd that you are. That's what you are. You imbecile. You coward. That's what I want to hear. The imbecile who tried to overturn the outcome of the 2020 election. An imbecile radical who thinks that abortion should be banned across the country. That imbecile. Yeah, I want him talking about gun control. I'm sure he'll do something about it. You sicko. If he had it his way, every person in America would have an AR-15. You sick piece of human turd. That's what you are. Only if it was a member of his family that was gunned down, maybe he'd do something about it. And maybe even then he wouldn't. You sick piece of human garbage. You're a joke. Let's pray that the evil leaves this country. Let's pray. Yeah, that'll work. That'll work. There are people on the far right that actually believe this stuff. They think if you go at home and you pray, the gun violence will stop. I mean, you might as well say the earth is flat or Donald Trump won the 2020 election. These are some of our lawmakers that we call lawmakers. What an embarrassment to this country. What an embarrassment to this country some of these members in office are. I mean, every shooting we hear these imbeciles, right? Ted Cruz after the shooting in Texas, Uvalde shooting. We need to harden our schools. I wish that back door was locked. You stupid idiot. Governor Abbott, the night of the Uvalde shooting, while they didn't even count all the bodies in those classrooms, Abbott was at a campaign fundraiser counting money. Texas must be very proud in putting Abbott, or as I like to call him, Governor Abhole, in office. What a despicable turd that guy is, too. And no, I'm not going to call people on the left despicable turds when it comes to this issue, when it comes to gun control, because they actually want to do something about it. They're trying to pass laws. They're trying to make this country safer. They're not taking your Second Amendment rights away. They're not taking all your guns away. Another lie by the Republicans. You couldn't find me one Democrat in office today that is an elected official that wants to take all your guns away, because Republicans in office today are liars. Now you have Democrats out there that maybe want an assault weapons ban. That doesn't mean they don't want you to have guns to be able to defend yourself. They don't want weapons of war in the hands of the wrong people. They want them in the hands of law enforcement and our brave men and women in uniform. And I second that 100%. But yet, this is going to keep happening. And it's going to keep happening. And there's going to be another mass shooting. And I'm going to have to go on the air and be emotional. And again, list the names of the victims. And this is the reason why this is a national story, because it's a mass shooting of more than 10 people, right? 18 people have lost their lives. I get it. People die at the hands of gun violence every day, and it's just as bad. I don't care whether it's in Chicago. I don't care where it is. I don't care whether it's gang violence. I don't care what the color of your skin is. Gun violence is gun violence, and we have a gun violence problem in this country. But the Republican talking point is when we talk about a mass shooting like what took place in Maine on Wednesday night, Republicans want to talk about black-on-black crime, and they want to talk about gang violence. So, your point, what are your solutions? Because I don't care whether it's a mass shooting in Maine or a mass shooting in Chicago. Gun violence is gun violence. Innocent people dying are innocent people dying. It shouldn't matter where they live, and it shouldn't matter what the color of your damn skin is. But Republicans care. And then we wonder why these Republicans don't get anything done in Washington. They don't want to do anything on gun because they care more about their rating from the NRA than actual people dying in this country. If you think I'm a liar and that's not true, then explain to me why Republicans don't want to do anything. Explain to me why most Republicans don't want to put any more laws on the books, or ban assault weapons, or clamp up on red flag laws, or raise the age from 18 to 21, or make some mandatory training out there. Republicans aren't for any of these things, the overwhelming majority of them. Why? Because they want an A+ rating from the NRA. And if they went for some of these and tried to pass this type of legislation, their NRA rating would go way down. What would happen? They would probably lose their base of supporters, and they would lose power. But there are a few Republicans that don't care about that I have some respect for. Liz Cheney, Mitt Romney, Adam Kinzinger. There are good Republicans out there that are willing to take their career and put it aside for the good of the American people. But you've got this scumbag, this right-wing radical MAGA Christian scumbag, Johnson. That's who many of these Republicans want to see in office today. And he is the GOP House Speaker. The House Speaker of the GOP is a guy, if he had it his way, he would ban abortion across the board, and he'd want every single person in this country with an assault weapon. Welcome to the base of the Republican Party today, ladies and gentlemen. And then we wonder why nothing gets done in Washington, D.C. when it comes to gun control. Listen, I could blame Democrats for some things. Not this. Not gun control. Democrats have been trying to ban assault weapons. Democrats have been trying to pass legislation. Republicans won't let them pass legislation. Why? The NRA, A+ rating from the NRA. You've got the Lauren Boeberts of the world and the Marjorie Taylor Greens of the world and others that allow their children, family members, even people as young as 4 or 5 years old, holding AR-15s in Christmas photos because they are sick. And they know that if you put out a picture like that and spread it all over social media, the meat of the Republican base loves it. 702-221-7283. We'll take a couple quick phone calls here. 702-221-7283 is the number to call. Again, 702-221-SAVE if you would like to be a part of the program and talk a little bit about gun control. Let's go to Edward. Edward, what's up?
Oh, hey, Brian. How's it going?
Good, man. What's on your mind?
Hey, man. Not much, dude. Happy Friday to you, brother.
Thanks, man. You too.
Hey, man. Yeah, boy, the situation that went down in Maine sucks, doesn't it?
Well, yeah, it definitely does. What
Well,
sucks even more is that we have a part of the Republican base that doesn't want to do anything about it.
I mean, does anyone really want to do anything about it, to be honest with you?
Yes,
I mean,
yes, they do. The Democrats
no,
do. Half
hold
the
on.
country does. Yes, the answer is yes. Yes.
Dude, look, we can't blame guns on this one, man. It was a psychopath
Yes, we
guy
can.
that had a bunch of screws loose.
Okay, let me ask you a question
Okay.
then. If we can't blame guns on this, Edward, would you have rather him had an AR-15 or a pistol? How many people would have died if he had a pistol?
None.
I understand that.
None.
That's obvious. We agree. But he had an assault weapon, and my question to you is, would you rather him have an assault weapon or would you rather him have a pistol? If you had to choose, which weapon would you rather him have? If he's trying to kill if he's trying to kill as many people as possible in a short period of time, what do you think?
I don't want to put myself in that scenario, and I never hope any.
We have to put ourselves in that. We have to put ourselves in that scenario because we're talking about life and death, and we're talking about guns that are built for one reason: to kill as many people as possible in a short period of time. So I think we have to put ourselves in that situation. And my answer, if you don't want to answer it, that's fine. My answer is,
I will.
I don't want anybody with an assault weapon in his hands that wants to kill a bunch of people. I'd rather nobody had a gun in their hand, but a pistol is not going to kill as many people in a short period of time as the weapon that he used on Wednesday night, and that's why I asked you that same question.
But what we can say is, though, the state of Maine, the police department, has dropped the ball because there is no way in hell some guy should have killed 18 people and still walking around or in the woods or wherever he's at right now.
Well,
that's crazy.
I don't know.
He dropped the ball on that one.
I don't know where he is. I'd have to look a little bit more into it and find out how long it took police officers to show up. I heard somewhere around 10 minutes, which is way too long. But with that being said, it wasn't the police officers that went in there and wanted to kill innocent people. If you really want to blame cops,
of course not.
Certainly, we could have a lot of criticism for Uvalde and the way they handled that or the lack thereof. But I'm going to blame the person who pulled the trigger. How we got easy access to these guns when we know he had mental illness.
He had mental health issues previously, right?
Yeah.
He was in the military?
Yeah, correct. So
how come we're not doing more thorough background checks on these people? How come we're not?
You want the answer to that? You want the answer to that?
Yeah.
Because Republicans
don't think Democrats are Republicans.
I'm sorry. I'm going to give you the answer, and you might not like it because you want to avoid, in this, with all due respect, you want to avoid the truth. Republicans do not want comprehensive background checks. 80% of people in this country, Republican, Democrat, do. But the people that don't want it are the Republicans that are elected officials in office that don't want to make it more difficult for people to have guns. The reason? They want an A+ rating from the NRA and they want to remain in power. And that's more important to them than innocent people being gunned down in this country every day, Edward. I'm sorry. That's just the truth.
Well, no. Well, how are the Republicans in power if we have a Democratic president right now?
The Republicans have to vote yes to get legislation passed. There has to be a certain number of Republicans that agree. Just Democrats, when a bill is proposed, when it comes to gun safety, gun legislation bills, you have to have some support from Republicans, and they just don't have the support. It's why Barack Obama couldn't pass anything after Sandy Hook, and it's why Joe Biden is struggling to pass things through the House. That is why. It's because you have to have some support from Republicans, and Republicans, many of them, not all of them, but many of them want to do nothing. In fact, they want to make it easier. Ron DeSantis and Governor Abbott, these are people that have made it easier for people to get access to guns, not harder. Meanwhile, we have more gun violence in this country than at any other time in our lifetime, yet Republicans, many of them want to make it easier for people to have guns.
Okay. I mean, it's a tragic loss across the board. Let's be honest, man. People lost their lives, and there's a psychopath running around. Let's be real on that. That's terrible.
Well, I certainly haven't said anything any different to that.
I know. And the gun issue isn't going to go away anytime soon.
Well, it shouldn't go away.
Hot topic.
It shouldn't go away anytime soon. And in my opinion, it shouldn't be a hot topic. It should be an easy topic. Everybody has the right to defend themselves as long as they're not a felon. We all don't need weapons of war to defend ourselves. That should be for law enforcement and our brave men and women in uniform. Everybody has the right to defend themselves with gun or guns. But that doesn't mean
Brian,
that we should...
I'm sorry. I apologize.
That's okay. Hey, Ed, I got to get going because my guest just got here, my friend, but it's always good to hear from you, and it's always good to have a conversation, and I appreciate that. Okay, my friend? Thank you for calling in.
Have a great weekend, Brian.
You too, Ed. Thanks for calling in. All right, here's what we're going to do. We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, the former chair, Republican chair, here in Nevada, Amy Tarkanian is going to be joining us next. I'll certainly ask her about this and many other topics. You're listening to Pushing the Limits right here on KSHP.
Hey everybody, are you struggling to find a pizza place that reminds you of Brooklyn? That true blue New York style pie? Well, worry no more. Stallone's Italian Eatery Pizza is a knockout. We're located at 467 East Silverado Ranch Boulevard, just off of Premier Road, half a mile east of South Point Casino, just minutes from the Las Vegas Strip. Come by and grab a slice of pie. Plus, check out our Brooklyn-inspired Italian cuisine. Our sandwiches are super. Hero, that is. Because why be a sub when you can be a hero? Stallone's Italian Eatery is here to serve you phenomenal food, Vegas. Forget about it.
Hey everybody, it's Brian Shapiro from Pushing the Limits here. I want to tell you guys about my good friends at the Postal Annex. They have a notary signing agent on-site daily, no appointment needed, and they offer a full scale of printing services from shipping labels to documents, business cards, banners, photos, and business signage. They're your passport service headquarters. They offer passport photos, and they can renew your adult passports. If you're traveling in a hurry, they can get those passports to you within 7 days or less. Mailbox rentals with a physical street address, and they also receive your packages from Amazon, UPS, FedEx, USPS, and more. Here's the best part. If you're a Pushing the Limits listener, they have an introductory rate of only $39 for a 3-month service. You can't beat it. Give them a call, 702-873-8005. Check them out at 6130 West Flamingo Road. It's the Postal Annex. Tell them I sent you.
Buying or selling a home is a huge life event that requires guidance from an expert in the industry and community. My name is Blake Wynn. You may recognize my name as my grandfather was the best governor the state of Nevada has ever had. Growing up in Las Vegas, I've come to know this community intricately. Now, I am raising a family here as well, so I understand all the issues impacting our home and quality of life. As the top realtor for the #1 real estate team at Keller Williams, you can have confidence in my experience, knowledge, and track record. When it comes to buying, selling, or investing in real estate, choose a name you can trust and someone who understands the community you call home. Call Blake Wynn today and experience the difference of a trusted expert. 702-540-3311.
Welcome to Hash House A Go-Go, where we've been serving farm food and crafted cocktails for over 2 decades. Visit us for the full Hash House experience at any of our 5 Las Vegas locations. Hash House A Go-Go is where old school meets new and gets twisted. We bring people together over good food and fun. Come in for breakfast, lunch, or dinner, and come hungry because our portions are huge. Visit us online to see our entire menu at hashhouseagogo.com. Hash House A Go-Go. It's a Midwest thing, and there's nothing else like it.
All right, welcome back. It is Pushing the Limits on a Friday. Thank you so much for joining us. We got Nikole Mitchell coming up in hour number 2. But, I always respect people. I talk about this all the time. People that are willing to call out certain members of their own party. Like Fetterman the other day. He called out members of the squad for their incendiary, I would say, anti-Semitic, anti-Israel rhetoric on social media. I respect anybody that is willing to call out members of their own party, and the lady we have with us in studio now is certainly no exception to that. She is, of course, the former Nevada Republican chairwoman, Amy Tarkanian, joining us in studio now. Amy, it is good to see you. Always a pleasure. Thanks for joining us. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me. You know what else about Fetterman that I really liked?
Yes.
Is he's posting up the photographs of those who are missing still.
Yeah.
On the outside of his office.
That's important.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. And I think it shows compassion. It shows where his heart is. You can knock him all day long for a number of other reasons, but I think he's spot on with this situation. So
Agree.
Kudos to him.
Agree. I couldn't agree with you more. And listen, most Americans are pro-Israel, and most Americans, Republican or Democrat, agree that Hamas is a terrorist organization. This is one thing where I think 99% of elected officials agree. We're pro-Israel. They have a right to defend themselves. Hamas, we got to get rid of them, terrorist organization, and so on. I want to start, though, by talking to you a little bit about what has been going on in the GOP over the course of the last few weeks and trying to find a House Speaker. Before we even get to this guy, Johnson, what do you make of this? I mean, you're the former state chair. What do you make of what has been going on in Washington, D.C., where it seems like we have possibly a new GOP House Speaker every day, and what Matt Gaetz and some of the other MAGA Republicans have been doing and outing McCarthy? What do you make of this?
Well, first of all, I'm not a McCarthy fan. And I've had dealings with him personally, and watching him lie and hurt other fellow Republican candidates for his own benefit. I've witnessed it. And so when it came time for him to make sure he had the votes for his speakership, he was willing to lie, demean, and destroy really good Republican candidates, one of them also being my husband, just to save himself. So, for example, when my husband ran against Mark Amday, Mark was a yes vote for McCarthy. My husband was not. He just wasn't. So everything that we were bringing up to fruition to the voters on Mark's voting record and where he stood on a number of issues, people thought he was extremely conservative, and it was just not the case. And it was cutting into his percentage. And so they saw that our hits were hurting Mark. And so what Kevin did in the last couple weeks of the election was he took a bunch of money and put on television and radio saying that Danny was the one who was in favor of the issues that Mark was in favor of, and flipped the switch, flipped the conversation, and just full-blown lied about my husband. And so people thought he actually was the one who was in favor of the way that these issues were being portrayed. And my husband's race wasn't the only one that he did this. He did this actually in a number of races across the nation. And it wasn't because he wanted the right Republican or a strong Republican or a Republican with morals and values. It was because he needed their votes.
It's just so sad. I mean, if you had to sum up Kevin McCarthy in a few sentences, what would you say about him?
He's a fraud. He's a self-absorbed fraud. And so he was willing to hurt people in the party for his own benefit, plain and simple. And so that's why we saw it took 15 rounds to even get him elected in speakership position. And he promised everything under the sun to all of these individuals. Now, he knew that he couldn't follow through, or else he wasn't going to follow through. It was both. So he made all of these promises that he knew he wouldn't and couldn't keep. And so I blame him. I don't blame Matt Gaetz. I blame him actually for getting us in this mess in the first place. He lied.
I don't disagree with you.
And so, Matt Gaetz, if they want to say that he was the creator of chaos or whatever it was that they called him.
Right.
He was actually following the rules that were promised and put into place in order to get the gavel into McCarthy's hands. So if you're going to have, one person speak up against McCarthy and then question if he should still hold that gavel or not, well, that was part of the promise to even get him in that position in the first place. So they were following technically the rules that were put in place in order to get McCarthy into that speakership position.
And it's interesting, Amy, because, a lot of people put all the blame on Matt Gaetz. I put a little bit of, but it's interesting, your perspective, and it makes complete sense that you got to put a lot of this on Kevin McCarthy. But now let me ask you this. We both agree on McCarthy. Now we're looking at this guy Johnson. This is a guy who, and listen, I know you're pro-life, and I think we've had reasonable conversations about that, grounded conversations. And I think Nikki Haley is pro-life as well, of course. I know she is, but she makes logical statements that most of this country can agree with. This guy Johnson is a MAGA extremist. First of all, just starting with abortion. If he had it his way, he would want to ban abortion with no exceptions throughout the entire country. That's bat-you-know-what crazy. That's number one. Yeah. He also, and this is a very important one as well, tried to overturn the outcome of the 2020 election. So he is a true election denier and a fraud when it comes to that. And, a perfect example, and we're going to get into the gun control stuff, but the morning after we lose 18 people, okay, and dozens more injured, and another huge mass shooting and a tragedy, is he talking about gun control? Is he talking about what we need to, is he even talking about mental illness or anything? No. What does he say? He makes an empty worded 15-second statement to the media and just says, well, we need to pray to get evil out of the world. He makes this prayer statement as if that's going to help right now. If people want to pray in their own time at home, at church, whatever, do whatever you want to do. But in this time, this guy does not know how to separate church from state.
No.
What do you make of this guy?
Sure. And not only that, I mean, he's very, very, very anti-LGBTQ. So his social issue stance is, it can be his, that's fine. But he is now supposed to be a speaker for all the people, for the House. And so it is concerning on some of his positions in the fact that he is willing to, and I think it was somebody who had asked him, what are your thoughts on I think it was like a general question, like how do you govern? How do you see yourself governing? And he basically, in a nutshell, said, that he follows everything biblically, everything from the Bible. Okay, that's great. I mean, I'm a Christian, but as speaker, you're not supposed to do a Bible Belt scenario and beat it into people's brains.
They're doing those prayers kneeling in the House chambers.
Yeah. And I guess that's okay too on your own time, and I'm sure that if no matter what religion you are, you're more than welcome to go and do that on your own time. But when you're supposed to be answering questions dealing, like you just said, on gun control, no, the answer is not to just pray. Like, praying it does bring value, and it is important, and it does bring some calm, to an individual, and maybe some peace to an individual. But you still need to come up with a plan.
And he doesn't have one. He doesn't.
Yeah,
but
there still needs to be a plan.
But this is okay. So this is your party, and I know that I respect you for speaking out about certain members and certain issues, but that's all I hear from Republicans today. Many, not all, thoughts and prayers, right?
Sure.
And when it comes to gun control, I had a guy on yesterday, an attorney, a guy I had on who's a Second Amendment rights attorney. And he made a couple statements to me. Eric Friday is his name. Eric J. Friday, pretty popular guy among Republicans. And he said he has a problem with 16-year-olds having cell phones, but doesn't have a problem with 18-year-olds having AR-15s with zero training, among other things. I mean, he made a lot of ridiculous statements. He thinks that felons should be allowed to have guns when they get out of jail.
Whoa.
I mean, this is absurd stuff, Amy. And he makes the case from the start of the interview to the end that more guns make us safer. And I say to him, number one, where are your facts to back that up? There are none. In fact, to the contrary. We have more guns in this country than just about any other country in the world. And guess what? We also have more gun violence in this country than any other country in the world. And it doesn't mean that I want to take people's guns away. Certain guns, assault weapons, yeah, I know some people disagree with that, but it's like, how can you make the case that more guns make us safer? I don't understand that.
Sure. So my problem is, though, okay, let's take it to this recent mass shooter individual who we know has a military background. We know that he has been married and divorced a couple times, that he has mental health problems. And of course, mental health now, it's a wide spectrum, but this individual was obviously on the deeper end to where he's hearing voices, okay, and had to go into a facility because he was hearing voices.
Right.
We're not just talking about somebody who's depressed, okay? I mean, that's pretty common nowadays. It's okay to talk about. But we're talking about somebody who's literally having conversations that don't exist in their head. And with his skilled background with weaponry and strategically being able to hide and maneuver through society, unlike you or I, why does he still have any weapon at all? And I understand in Maine they have something called a yellow flag law, not a red flag law, which I guess is a much more lenient version of if somebody, you're concerned about somebody owning a weapon who maybe you question their mental state.
I'll answer your question, though.
Yeah, would you please?
Bad lawmakers, it's harder in Maine to get Advil, cold, and sinus than it would be to get an assault weapon. And I'm not being facetious when I say that. If you look at the laws, it is so easy to purchase a weapon there, and without a lot of, background information on the person that is actually buying that weapon. And you're absolutely right, and I agree with you, and it's a really good question. And I say the same thing in a lot of these mass shootings when there was some history of mental illness. In a lot of these shootings, not all, but in a lot of them, this guy shouldn't have been allowed to have a gun. And he checked himself into a mental facility for 2 weeks over the summer.
Right.
And yet he was still, and by the way, he made also comments to family and friends about how he made some threats. You're absolutely right. What we need to do in this situation is somebody needs to call the police, right? And we don't know if that happened or not. And when you have someone that already has a mental illness, they need to take all their guns away. This is where red flag laws need to be put in place that actually work. I'm not saying that if I don't like you, Amy, as my neighbor, and I'm just going to lie and call the police and say, she threatened me, take her guns away. No, that's not what I'm talking about. It's a case-by-case basis. We don't want to take anyone's Second Amendment rights away, but I also say we don't want to take away the rights of people hanging out in a bowling alley with their friends and getting gunned down either. We need to have a happy medium.
Yeah, no, and I agree because, that's where the concern is. They say, okay, well, what if there's a domestic dispute case, and the woman's claiming that the man is, not treating her right. And so then she calls the cops and then they take his guns away because now they believe her over him and, yada, yada, yada. Okay, I get that. But this one was pretty clear.
Right.
Like this guy was not just depressed. He wasn't just, having a bad day and maybe, yelling at his neighbor across the fence or screaming at a dog or kicked his dog. This guy was hearing voices. And they didn't think, oh, maybe we should go check the house because of, who he is and what he used to do for a living.
Failure on all fronts.
Yes.
There's no question about it. And I wish Republicans and Democrats would be able to come together and put some things in place to try to prevent. I'm not saying we're going to prevent all mass shootings, but do some things that. What does it say to you going back to Johnson? Because it started this conversation with his lack of, empty words when it came to this mass shooting. What does it say about your party right now that we have a GOP House Speaker who is a bona fide election denier?
Yeah.
He can't separate church and state. Most Americans in this country, Republican and Democrat, still believe in the woman's right to choose. It doesn't mean that we're jumping for joy when a woman has an abortion, and it doesn't mean we believe in late-term abortion, because I don't.
Right.
But what does it say about the GOP party today? Because to me it says the leaders of the party are just a bunch of MAGA extremists. I mean, what does it say about your party?
Sure. Well, it says exactly that. You saw that President Trump would actually, or former President Trump would actually, pipe in occasionally and give his 2 cents on where we were with the speakership vote. Who was he on the phone with? You'd read articles. Oh, he was on the phone with so-and-so, or, oh, look what he posted on Truth Social about so-and-so. I mean, he was interjecting himself, even though he's not the president. He's anticipating on being the president, but he has such a control on these members because they're so fearful. I think a number of these people are so fearful of not being reelected, having to go back home to their constituents base and say, okay, well, I bucked Trump on this, but, nobody wants to buck Trump because they're so fearful of the retribution. Look at the way he treats the gag orders, that have been put upon him. He breaks them. He was fined $5,000 for one, then he broke it again, and $10,000 for the second time. Right. He's going to do it again. He just keeps intentionally digging these holes to show that he's, one, I think, fearless. Two, he wants everyone to think that they're a victim along with him. So this just feeds more into the narrative. And he thinks that by misbehaving this way is exuding strength.
Let me ask you about this, because you were at one time a staunch Donald Trump supporter, right? You voted for him in 2016. Correct me if I'm wrong. You voted for him.
I voted for him twice.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
So what was the turning point for you, Amy, where you finally said to yourself, I think I might have asked you this before, but I don't remember. What was the turning point for you when you said, that's it, I'm done. I could never support this guy again, and I got to speak out on him? Like, to your credit and to other Republicans, some others are doing, not enough in my opinion, but some are. What was the turning point for you? You said, that's it, I've had it with Donald Trump.
Well, it slowly started to build up. I would say the more that I had one-on-one encounters, you hear about the two different versions of Donald Trump. So you hear about when you're one-on-one with him, how, he's really good at making you feel safe, important. He's much more soft-spoken. And then he goes on stage and he's, this bombastic bully.
And you've had plenty of one-on-ones with Donald Trump. What was that like?
Exactly what I just explained.
Interesting.
I mean, he visited my son's class.
Wow.
And he was, wonderful to the kids. He attended the church that I used to go to. He was fantastic. I mean, we were fist bumping during worship, and he was sitting there and complimenting my family. Very kind. But then, you take to the stage and he's a 180 of an individual, and you're thinking, where did he go? Where did this person go? And I was talking with a reporter earlier today, and he said, well, I'd like to think of it more of flipping. When you think he's being normal one-on-one, his normal is actually what we see on stage. It's him acting when he's one-on-one with you. And I thought, oh my gosh, I think you're right. You hit the nail on the head. So he knows he's got to turn on the charm and be a little bit more soft-spoken when he's right in front of you. But then when it's showtime, that's actually him.
So usually it's the opposite with people, right? When people are in front of the camera, they're fake, they're phony.
Right.
And then behind closed doors, then you get the real person. But it's interesting, and that makes sense. You're telling me behind closed doors, it's the other way around for Donald Trump.
Yes, because this particular reporter would also follow him, while he was doing his time in the White House. And he said he was a beast, behind closed doors. He was just constantly barking. And that's what you see on stage. So that's him. As opposed to, like I just said, the one-on-one that you would think, oh, he's such a nice man.
What would you say now, as the former, Nevada Republican chairwoman, if you're in a room alone with Donald Trump, what would you say to him?
Oh, I mean, I don't know. He's actually, I'm telling you this, he's very easy to talk to. Very easy to talk to. So I would have no problem, holding just a regular conversation. It doesn't even have to be political.
Would you ask him about any of the legal troubles he's facing or what he's done to the Republican Party? Would you get into that conversation with him?
I almost feel like it would be a waste of time, because I think deep down he knows what he's doing, that he's stirring the pot, that there's no way that he could honestly think that this whole thing was stolen. I think he knows what he's doing. I think he knows that he's got everyone wrapped around his finger, that he's able to move the chess pieces. He is the kingmaker right now. And that's why you see people, like at the state party levels, that are willing to change rules around in order to benefit him. I mean, he's got everyone kind of like their own little his own little zombies. They're all kind of brainwashed. They're all emulating his misbehavior.
No question. I don't think Marjorie Taylor Greene, Matt Gaetz, I don't think some of these characters, for lack of a better term, Lauren Boebert, would even be in office if not for Donald Trump. What is your biggest criticism of his? I mean, I would imagine you have a lot, but what would be your biggest criticism of Donald Trump?
Well, he likes to say that, he likes to tout being loyal. And he's the most disloyal person on the planet. He'll sell you out in 2 seconds. I mean, we just saw too with Sidney Powell. Now she's going to end up having to testify probably against him. And all of a sudden, he doesn't really know who she was, and she had nothing to do, with his situation. I mean, that's a load of BS.
He was caught on tape saying that she's part of his legal counsel. I mean, blatant lies.
Yeah. And so, and he's got a pattern of this. So, he's extremely disloyal. And I think that's a terrible characteristic. And I think, too, getting back to your question of what was the final straw. So my encounters and starting to see the difference of personality, and then watching him continue to surround himself with grifters like Rudy Giuliani, like Sidney Powell, like Lynn Woods. And then he feeds into the January 6th situation. And I don't care what you call it. I don't care if you want to call it a large gathering, if you want to call it
well, they'd be wrong, but yeah.
Well, you know what I mean. You call it whatever you want to call it. But he sat there. He sat there for hours and watched it happen.
5 hours.
Yeah, watched it unfold. And you can go back on my X feed, on my Twitter feed, and you can see how I'm pleading for him to say something.
And you weren't the only one. A lot of people around him were begging and pleading. And that's why the Meadows, I want to ask you about this, the Meadows flipping, I think is really, really bad for Donald Trump because that was his right-hand man. He was with him all day on January 6th, virtually every day. And I'd be willing to bet that even Mark Meadows was doing what you were doing and was pleading with Trump to.
And wasn't he granted full immunity?
Yes.
I mean, so this is going to be juicy.
He must have the goods.
Yeah.
What do you make of that, Amy? And by the way, I agree with everything you just said about January 6th. I could not agree more. What do you make of the fact that you mentioned Sidney Powell and Jenna Ellis and, of course, now Meadows, which is a big deal? This is a big deal. These are people like the Jenna Ellises of the world that she was smiling in her mugshot. She thought it was all a big joke. And then all of a sudden in the courtroom, she starts crying.
Right.
I don't think those are tears that, oh, my God, I shouldn't have done this. Hurting. It's just feeling sorry for herself. That's what I think.
Sure.
I think she's despicable. And Sidney Powell is a lunatic. I think she's crazy.
Oh, I think she's a lunatic. Once again, you can go back into my Twitter feed and you can see that I'm pleading for him to, like, please remove.
Oh, I believe
her.
You. Yeah.
And then I call out Lynn Wood as well.
Another guy who flipped.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, Jenna, we have a mutual friend who actually happens to be a Democrat. And
you're getting more and more Democrat friends these days, Amy.
Well, but it's funny because Jenna's been confiding into him.
Right.
And so he's told me some of the conversation. And I think really, what it is like what you just stated. She's feeling sorry for herself. She's wishing that she didn't get as involved as she did, and she's now wishing that she jumped off the crazy train.
Why didn't she?
I don't know. I think it's been an eye opener to watch people who you once thought were intelligent individuals, people who have a certain stature, certain status.
Look at Rudy Giuliani. People looked at him as a hero after 9/11, the way he reacted and brought people together. And he did a lot of good things back then. I give him credit for that. The guy has zero credibility now.
Zero.
He's lost almost all of his money, and he's a disgrace to this country, and in my opinion, a traitor.
Yeah.
And it doesn't bring me any joy in saying that. It's just true.
Yeah. So, somebody like Jenna, she's, I don't know her personally. But my friend, yes, and they all say she's a lovely individual. She's very nice. I think maybe I'm just guessing. Maybe she just got wrapped into it. She's young. She was getting a lot of attention. I'm sure she was probably surrounding herself also with a bunch of yes people who were feeding her lies, unfortunately, and that seems to be the case once again. When Trump is screaming, be loyal, is he paying for her attorney fees? No, he left her high and dry. In fact, but then she continued to grift off of her situation, and people were donating to her. So, but who did she learn that from? Donald Trump.
Sure.
Right. So you've got now a bunch of mini Trumps that he's created, and it's now they're all having to fend for themselves for now trying to appease this giant ego of a man.
I thought you were going to say giant orange turd. That's just my that's my nickname for him. I know you don't talk like that. If you're just joining us, Amy Tarkanian, the former Nevada Republican chairwoman, nice enough to join us in studio. Do you think Donald Trump goes to jail? With all the 91 felony counts that he's facing, with this RICO trial where everybody seems now to be flipping against him, at least the most important characters have flipped, do you think he's going to go to jail?
Oh, I think they want to... They want to stretch this out as long as possible. And if he does become president, God forbid, then he's just going to wipe it all away. And I think that's what we're witnessing. I don't know if he's ever going to see the bars.
But
I don't.
And I don't know either, but I think as every day passes, there's a better chance that he might go to jail. But I think you're right. It's very difficult to put a former president behind bars. But boy, the evidence just keeps stacking up.
Yeah, but let's say that were to happen. Oh my gosh! I mean, the MAGA crowd would revolt and dig their heels in more than we've ever seen, ever. And so
you think we'd have like another insurrection? There'd be violence all over the country.
I don't know if there'd be violence. No, but I think that you would probably end up with a bunch of people who would definitely turn out to vote, maybe who were on the fence. And so we'd have a president behind bars. But Yeah, I think it would backfire. It might backfire on the Democrats if they put him behind bars.
I mean, it's still most likely going to be, and I'm not breaking any earth-shattering news here, Donald Trump versus Joe Biden. Most of the country does not want to see that. I'm one of them. With that being said, you're a lifelong Republican. If that does happen, a lot of Republicans, I ask this question and I get a mixed bag of answers. Who do you vote for? Do you vote at all? If it's Joe Biden versus Donald Trump, who do you vote for, and do you even vote at all?
Yeah, that's the big concern. So I listened to CNN and I listened to Fox. And this morning on Fox, they were talking about Biden's poll numbers and how they're still going down despite his supporting Israel. Well, the problem is also him supporting Israel. So you have a large like Muslim Arab population in a state like Michigan.
Right.
Well, they're not happy with him supposedly taking a side. And so now that you have this, and I can't even remember the guy's name, the other Democrat guy who just announced that he's going to be running against Biden, some random guy.
Okay.
So now they're afraid either this guy's going to siphon off just a couple percentage points, or they're going to stay home, like how you just guessed. So, which means then Trump would have a better chance of winning if these folks stay home. Yeah. So you've got Biden, who most people are disappointed in, or you've got Trump, who most people have a vile hatred for. So do you want somebody who's a disappointment? And the whole joke, even though it's not really a joke, is that there's people pulling the strings for him anyways. So do you want a calm individual who looks like he's, lost half the time, but you still know business is going to get done behind the scenes? Or do you want a guy who's popping off and calling, reporters maggots?
Do you really think that, though, Amy? Do you think that half the time Joe... I know he's old. I get that. But he's 80 years old. Do you really think he's lost half the time? Because I got to be honest with you. While I have my criticisms of Joe Biden, I've always said I think he's a decent man. I have respect for him and his wife. I don't believe he's a criminal. His son is, Hunter, but I don't believe Joe's a criminal. And for 80 years old, especially in the last several weeks, he's been pretty strong on Israel. He's made some really good speeches. Yeah. And I'm glad he went over there. And I get it. He's a little old. He's feeble. And I don't want anybody even over 70 running for president. I've been very clear on that.
Yeah.
But with that being said, you know what you hear from the extreme right. I know you don't make these. He's got Alzheimer's. He can't walk up the stairs. And I'm thinking to myself, have you heard Donald Trump speak? He thought that he ran against Jeb Bush a few weeks ago. He said you have to have ID to buy a loaf of bread. Right. I don't hear those people talking about that. And I'm not saying Joe Biden is the spring chicken and he's not what he once was maybe even 5 years ago or 10 years ago. But do you think he's lost? Because I don't know if I'd go that far. He's old. He's 80.
I would say that there are definitely questionable moments for sure. And it does seem like he needs to have a little bit more rest than the average individual in order to have some clarity.
Well, he's 80, right? I would call him a normal 80-year-old.
Okay, so let me compare him then to my mother-in-law.
Okay.
My mother-in-law's 91, okay? And she served on the school board for a dozen years. She was in the city council. She was mayor pro tem. And now she's university regent at 91.
Yeah.
Okay. Physically, she is not the same. Not even close. Struggles. Uses a
You're
walker.
talking about Lois, right?
Yeah. Uses a walker. But I tell you what, up here in her mind, and what comes out of her mouth, she could still run circles around you and I.
And I don't doubt that.
Yeah.
And everybody's different, right? I don't doubt that at all. And I've talked to Lois, and she's an incredible woman.
Yeah.
But
and I think Joe struggles with that.
I think there's a lot of things there, right? I think he's had a stuttering issue his whole life, so you don't know if that's what's going on there.
But he didn't stutter as a senator, so I think that's a load of garbage. He can talk about that, something that he overcame. As a younger individual,
but in general
and that's
terms,
great.
In general terms, forget about personal feelings or policy. Donald Trump and Joe Biden, they're old, and your mother-in-law, an exception. I think most people,
but
80s and 90s.
But when you're talking about the walking scenario and walking upstairs and whatnot, with Joe, yes, that's an age thing for sure.
Sure.
And just like I said, my mother-in-law has to use a walker.
Absolutely.
But up here, she's always ready to go. Where Joe just seems kind of like it's off and on. Like you just don't know what you're going to get.
I hear what you're saying, and I think your mother-in-law is probably an exception to that. I think Joe is your normal 80-year-old man who's getting up there in age. I see that with my dad as well. But my dad isn't traveling all over the world every day and making speeches. And
going
he's not
to Delaware,
right?
Like
he's not
50 times.
Well, he has gone to Delaware quite a bit, but at the same time, Donald Trump played more golf than any other president in the history of this country.
Everyone needs an outlet.
Yeah, and listen, I don't look at Joe Biden and say, oh my God, he needs to go to a hospital. I look at Joe Biden and I say, he's your typical 80-year-old man. We need younger people in office, and that would go. And again, aside from our politics, Republican, Democrat, I would say the same thing about Donald Trump. And by the way, it's why most of the country doesn't want to see Donald Trump versus Joe Biden.
Well, and what's crazy is, and I don't know, are you hearing any RFK talk? Because when people say, oh, I don't want Biden or Trump, then the next thing that comes out of their mouths usually is, well, I could go RFK, but I don't know.
Well, it's interesting because RFK Jr. is supposed to be doing this show in a few weeks, but so I'll try to be careful with what I say, but I'm also going to be honest. He's a conspiracy theorist. His conspiracies about the vaccines have, in my opinion, he's tarnished his last name, and I think him running as an independent. And I'll get your thoughts on this. I think it hurts Donald Trump more than Joe Biden. I don't think there's many people out there that are Democrats that would vote for RFK Jr. over Joe Biden. However, I think there's some MAGAs out there. The Charlie Kirks of the world are big RFK Jr. fans. Steve Bannon, big RFK Jr. fan. Why? Because he's a conspiracy theorist. And I believe there are people out there that maybe normally would vote for Trump that would vote for this guy. I think he hurts Donald Trump a lot more than he hurts Joe Biden.
I would agree with that, actually.
Yeah.
Is he a conspiracy theorist? I don't think so. I don't think to the extent that you think. I think him questioning the vaccines is actually a healthy thing. I think it's a good thing.
I think if you don't say things that are not factually accurate. Now, let me also be clear. He and his entire family have taken the vaccine. So if he was so against the vaccine, then why did you take it? That would be my first question to him. Mm-hmm. When you say things like, and I'm paraphrasing here, that COVID was built to target a certain religion or race, and he did say that in a recorded statement, that's crazy. Now, maybe the 99% of the other stuff is, is not that crazy. But when you make a statement like that and you're caught on audio, in my opinion, you lose a lot of credibility. And I also add that RFK Jr. is not an infectious disease expert, and he's not a doctor, but yet he seems to talk about vaccines like they're the sky is falling, yet he still takes the vaccine. So he's a hypocrite at a minimum. And I think that's blatant misinformation when you say that it was targeting a certain race more than another race. It's absurd.
Oh, that's fair enough. I think you're alluding to what did he say it was to the Jewish population?
Yeah, Jewish people. Yeah, it's just an absurd statement, ridiculous.
Yeah,
and again,
well, like I didn't say, he's not my pony. I'm just saying that's what I hear from people. If they don't want to have.
You agree with me though? He'll take some Trump voters.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, because the people that have actually mentioned as the possibility are Republicans.
Yeah.
Not my Democrat friends.
Right. So I don't think it's going to affect Joe Biden. I don't think it's going to affect Democrats the way some people would like you to believe. Mm-hmm. I have to ask you some questions about Israel because this is obviously not going away anytime soon.
Right.
You're pro-Israel, of course.
Sure.
I am. I think most of America is. What do you make of the Hamas attack and our response to it?
Ooh. I have some family friends that are living over there. And I check in with them periodically.
In Israel?
Yes.
Wow.
And so far they're all doing okay. But they were more centrally located, which now we're hearing that the bombs are actually making it, or the missiles are making it now, some of them into like the Tel Aviv area, which is scary. Which also tells me then, Hamas, who in the beginning, most of their weapons were found to be homemade.
Right.
Now, if they're making it into central Israel, these are not homemade. So, I think we're going to find out that Iran is so heavily involved in this.
Oh, we know they are.
Yeah.
They funded this.
Yeah.
No question.
No question.
Yeah.
but it's getting really scary to the point where now, Iran is putting out public threats against the U.S. If we continue.
And you heard about the Syria attacks that took place yesterday.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, the whole conversation, you can be a conspiracy theorist on this, or you can just be somebody who's just talking out loud. But World War III literally is coming up on a regular basis. This is on the tip of people's tongues. This is in the back of people's minds now because of, you mentioned the Bible earlier. Heck, if you truly believed every single thing in the Bible, you break it down when you've got countries like not just Iran, but you've got now Russia and China involved. That starts to line up to biblical prophecy, for the beginning of the tribulation. And so I don't know where you are with that, but I'm just putting that out there. So that also is freaking people out.
What do you make of all the pro-Palestinian rallies that were taking place on college universities and across the country?
It's disgusting, number one, because I think what people are doing, and I believe it's intentional for some of these people who are actually putting these together, is to misguide and to re-educate, I guess, people in the wrong way, because nobody wants innocent people to die. You don't want these poor Palestinians who have been held hostage, so to speak, by the Hamas.
Right. And they want to blame Israel for that. And it's Hamas that is trapping them, not Israel.
Yeah. I mean, no one's saying, oh, go die, Palestinian children. No one wants that. But these people live in fear on a regular basis. What do you want them to do? It's being reported that, they're withholding, aid from their own people. They're using it just for themselves, for the Hamas, that they're not allowing them to escape and go to other parts of the Gaza Strip, so that way they can avoid being bombed and murdered and killed. And they don't care. And so you've got people that are angry for the right reasons, because nobody wants to hear about death and destruction, but angry for the wrong reasons because it's misguided. And so, why not have an anti-Hamas rally?
That'd be great. You'd have a lot of people coming together.
And why not have then, the leaders of the Muslim community, who obviously are not, Islamic jihadists.
Whether you think Israel should exist or
up.
not, you have to speak out against Hamas, and I would like to see more of that. I agree with you.
Yeah. Have the rabbis, have the leaders of the Muslim community, have them come together and say, this is disgusting.
Right.
It's Hamas that's created this mess.
That's the problem, because there are some that say that Israel created this. They're the occupiers. They created this. And even if that's what you feel like in the early 1940s, even if you think that way and you don't think Israel should exist, it still doesn't change my opinion. You can't have a terrorist group go in there and commit genocide. These members of Hamas, they're burning babies alive. They've burned babies alive, raping women, executing families and children. And while there are innocent Palestinian children that have died, name me a time when Israeli troops have gone in there and have raped the women and beheaded babies. I'm not saying Israel's perfect in all of this, but for God's sakes, it's no moral equivalency.
What other army will give you a heads up?
Right.
To say, hey, we're going to be coming in the next couple of days, so maybe you should be heading south.
Right.
Or you should
Get
be
the
heading
hell out
north.
Of there.
Instead Hamas says, nope, you're not going anywhere, and we're going to also store weaponry in the hospital while we're at it and blow it up on our own, or a school, because that's reported what they do too. And I saw the most disgusting video, and I've been, I don't shy away from anything that comes across, because I want to see really what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
But they taped a woman's mouth shut so she couldn't scream while they severed her breasts off, cut open her womb, and then behead the baby in front of her, and then they killed her. I mean, these are demonic, evil, barbaric SOBs. This is not your normal war. This This was an innocent person.
And
This
they're
wasn't a
releasing those
soldier.
videos.
They are releasing the videos. Yeah. I mean, I'm sure you've seen the ones. They wear GoPro cameras.
Yeah.
To show the world
what they're doing.
What they're doing.
Yeah. We have to defeat this evil. And I wish the Palestinian people and the Israeli people could come together and say, listen, we can have our disagreements over territory, but I think we all should agree that Hamas is better off gone for both of us.
Yeah.
Start there and then try to come up with, but you got to get rid of these terrorists first. And I wish that more Palestinians would call out Hamas, have disagreement. Israel has the right to defend themselves. I guess, here we are approaching November, Amy, because we only got a couple more minutes left here. A year before the 2024 elections. We have a lot of problems in this country. What do you think are the biggest mistakes that Republicans are making today? And where would you like to see the party go in the future?
Ooh.
Loaded question.
Yeah. I think one of the biggest mistakes that the party is making right now is being honest. And that's on a number of fronts. So being honest, one, we just went through removing a speaker. It took over 20 days to get a new one because we had put in a speaker who was not honest. Now we have a new speaker, as we mentioned, who believes that the election was stolen and questioned it, and that's also not being honest. We've got down to the state parties, down to the county parties that are still brainwashing and feeding rhetoric to the masses that basically your vote doesn't matter, that the election was stolen. And anytime things don't go their way, they cry, it's fake news without breaking things down or any self-reflection. I think from here on out, it would be good to be honest. It'd be good to be honest with the constituents. It would be good to be honest, so that way then you're transparent with why things are the way they are. And it would be good to maybe show how the sausage is made, so to speak, where if things aren't going so well in the House, if you're not able to work across party lines, be honest about what's going on. Right. Quit trying to grandstand. Quit gaslighting. It doesn't do anybody any favors. And quite honestly, that would go for both sides at this point, because I'm tired of watching people go to the mic and sit there and gaslight each other, and it gets nothing done. And, we're still sitting here twiddling our thumbs with inflation, still skyrocketing. Our gas prices are asinine once again. We've got people, being sent overseas to go fight other people's wars. I mean, it's a nightmare at every corner.
Sure.
And yet we're worried more about gaslighting one another. It's ridiculous.
It is. I don't see Republicans winning a majority vote anytime soon if they continue to focus on the wrong issues like transgenders or the LGBT community in general, or drag queens reading books to kids, these gender ideology wars that Ron DeSantis seems to be talking about on a regular basis.
Yeah, because none of that's going to fix anything that I just mentioned.
No, it's not. You're absolutely right. And if you talk more about, maternity leave, minimum wage, inflation, taxes, the job market,
it doesn't matter if you're straight or gay.
Right.
We all want those problems fixed.
Thank you. Yeah, exactly. And I think most Americans want to hear more about that.
Yeah.
And Donald Trump is a huge distraction for the Republican Party right now. They have laid in bed with this guy, for lack of a better term. You reap what you sow, and now you're stuck with him because he is by far the front runner in the Republican Party.
And I'll tell you, it's not just a distraction for the Republican Party. It's a distraction for America. Because I do a lot of international television hits, and everyone shakes their head and just asks the question, why? Why? How did you guys get to this? How? And I mean, we're a train wreck that you can't look away from.
If you had to describe it in a few sentences, how do you answer that question?
I mean, everyone just kind of laughs. you get that question and everyone just kind of chuckles and looks at each other in disbelief. And you just have to go through the embarrassing steps once again of talking about, how he surrounded himself with grifters, with yes people, how, then you had January 6th, and then how he's had 4 indictments, I mean, the more that you lay out there on where we are today, and how we got to where we are today, it almost seems like, you couldn't even write a movie about something like this. It's that crazy.
It really is. It really is crazy.
Yeah.
We're living in really crazy times right now. You're absolutely right. Well, Amy, I always appreciate your honesty. We definitely need more Republicans out there like you, not because you go after Republicans, because you go after what's right and what's wrong, what's obvious, okay? We could have disagreements on policy, but I think we need more people out there like you that are willing to call out the bad, the obvious, bad people, and then let's get to the policy conversations. And I think if Republicans start doing that, then I think more people like me might want to vote for more people like that, whether it be independents or whatever. But I always appreciate your honesty, and I always try to call out anybody that speaks negatively about you because they don't like your positions or they don't like who you supported, or it's absurd, and I'll always call that out no matter who it is. But Amy, it's always a pleasure, of course, always a pleasure having you in. Regards to your family, and glad you're back in Vegas here and we could do this, and we'll love to have you back anytime, and have some fun in Vegas, and we'll talk to you soon, and I appreciate your time as always.
Sounds good. Thanks for having me.
Amy Tarkanian, everybody, the former chairwoman in Nevada for the Republican Party. We'll take a quick break. When we come back, Nikole Mitchell is going to be joining us. You are listening to Pushing the Limits right here on KSHP.
Hey everybody, are you struggling to find a pizza place that reminds you of Brooklyn? That true blue New York style pie? Well, worry no more. Stallone's Italian Eatery Pizza is a knockout. We're located at 467 East Silverado Ranch Boulevard, just off of Premium Road, half a mile east of South Point Casino, just minutes from the Las Vegas Strip. Come by and grab a slice of pie. Plus, check out our Brooklyn-inspired Italian cuisine. Our sandwiches are super. Hero, that is. Because why be a sub when you can be a hero? Stallone's Italian Eatery is here to serve you phenomenal food, Vegas. Forget about it.
The world famous radio.
Hey everybody, it's Brian Shapiro from Pushing the Limits here. I want to tell you guys about my good friends at the Postal Annex. They have a notary signing agent on-site daily, no appointment needed, and they offer a full scale of printing services, from shipping labels to documents, business cards, banners, photos, and business signage. They're your passport service headquarters. They offer passport photos, and they can renew your adult passports. If you're traveling in a hurry, they can get those passports to you within 7 days or less. Mailbox rentals with a physical street address, and they also receive your packages from Amazon, UPS, FedEx, USPS, and more. Here's the best part. If you're a Pushing the Limits listener, they have an introductory rate of only $39 for a 3-month service. You can't beat it. Give them a call, 702-873-8005. Check them out at 6130 West Flamingo Road. It's the Postal Annex. And tell them I sent you.
Welcome. Buying or selling a home is a huge life event that requires guidance from an expert in the industry and community. My name is Blake Wynn. You may recognize my name as my grandfather was the best governor the state of Nevada has ever had. Growing up in Las Vegas, I've come to know this community intricately. Now, I am raising a family here as well, so I understand all the issues impacting our home and quality of life. As the top realtor for the #1 real estate team at Keller Williams, you can have confidence in my experience, knowledge, and track record. When it comes to buying, selling, or investing in real estate, choose a name you can trust and someone who understands the community you call home. Call Blake Wynn today and experience the difference of a trusted expert. 702-540-3311.
Is your dog suffering from a sensitive stomach? Hi, it's Kelly the Cookie Lady from Mooch's Munchies. Our dogs had super sensitive tummies, and I needed to find a low-fat treat that wouldn't give them gas or other issues. Most of the treats on the market were loaded with fillers, chemicals, and chicken fat. Many of them weren't even food. Well, I knew I could do better, so I developed Mooch's Munchies, and I'm happy to be able to share them with you. Stop by our store or our website, moochesmunchies.com, and find out why we say that Mooch's Munchies are totally pawsome.
All right, welcome back. It is Pushing the Limits on a Friday. I want to tell you guys about my good friend Blake Gwynn with the Keller Williams Group. I actually hit some golf balls with him yesterday on a bad shoulder. He actually did a pretty good job on the driving range, I have to say. If you're thinking of buying or selling a home, you don't want to hit up anybody else. Why? Well, first of all, he's lived here his whole life. His grandfather, the late great former governor Kenny Gwynn, so he knows this city inside and out. We were talking a little bit about the housing market yesterday. I mean, this guy's a wizard when it comes to this stuff. And you get $1,000 cash back if you mention this show and you work with Blake. So please give Blake Gwynn a call over at the Keller Williams Group if you're thinking of buying or selling a home. His number, 702-540-3311. And again, that number, 702-540-3311. With that being said, Halloween right around the corner. I happen to be going to, not to sound like really important or anything, but I am going to a pretty damn cool party tomorrow. I'll probably talk about it on Monday, but I want to talk a little bit about Halloween. A person who knows a thing or two about some style and costumes. Of course, I'm talking about the OnlyFans model herself, Nikole Mitchell, joining us right now. Nikole, it is good to see you on a Friday. How are you?
Happy Friday. I'm so good. I'm slightly jealous of this Halloween party you're going tomorrow. You're so cool.
I wouldn't go that far, but I wouldn't say I'm that cool, but I appreciate the compliment. No, but I mean, Halloween it's so fun, right? I mean, everyone, kids and adults and everybody wearing costumes. By the way, it's the only time I ever dressed in drag.
Yes. Oh my God. You have to show me these pictures, Brian.
You know, it's funny because I don't. This was like 15 years ago, but I dressed up in drag. I was wearing a sexy skirt and lingerie and all that stuff. And I know a lot of people are vomiting in their mouth now as they listen to this. That's fine. But the funny story is I was with a bunch of friends, right? And they dared me to do it, and I did it. And I was wearing high heels. I don't know how you women do it, by the way. My feet were killing me. And one of my friends was sick. He had a little bit too much to drink. So he's like, could you help me to the restroom? Because I think he had to throw up. So picture this. I'm in a dress, dressed in drag. I've got my arm around my friend. We're walking into the men's room. Without giving away too many details, I lift my skirt up and I go pee. And I had a bunch of men laughing and saying, honey, you're in the wrong restroom. And I was dancing on the dance floor with an attractive female. And we were having fun. And she smacked me on the ass and she said, now, how do you like it when we do it to you? And I said, I kind of like it. I kind of enjoy that. But anyway, that was my night. It was actually Halloween night. I went to a party here on the Strip and I had a good time.
Oh my gosh. What a fascinating story.
Yeah.
I want to see pictures of this. You got to dig them out of the archives, Brian. Show me the next time I'm in town.
I will. My friend had an outfit on. He had a bunch of chickens, little mini chickens all over. And I said, what are you dressed as? He's like, I'm a chick magnet. And I just thought I thought that was pretty hilarious too.
Halloween is so fun. Like, this is why I love the holiday. It's, you can be playful. You can try on different personas, different identities. You can express your humor. Like, it's a great time of year to try things out and just have a good time. So
what are you dressing up as? What are you dressing up as this year?
I have too many costumes, Brian. We should vote. I have like sexy nurse. I have a witch. I have Harry Potter. I have Cruella de Vil. I have a sexy Top Gun outfit.
Ooh.
I have an Army Sergeant outfit. Like, I have so many. It's actually really hard to pick just
Listen,
one.
it's a hard, I know it's a cliche, but the hot nurse is up. It's certainly up there for me. If you just want to be a witch, be one of the MAGA Republican females in office right now. I'm sorry, that was a horrible joke. I had to say it, but no, I mean, I think the nurse is good. Did you ever think of being like the hot teacher, like that sort of thing?
Ooh, I could totally I have that outfit as well.
That could be really interesting. I feel like the nurse is a 100% done deal. Great. Everyone will love it. Yeah. But a lot of other people are doing it. That's the only other, you know what I mean? And not to say that people aren't dressing up as the hot teacher either. I could see you in an army uniform. That would work as well.
I can also be a sexy nun.
There you go. Now that would be great too. For you to do that, I think would be awesome. I'm sure a lot of those, I'm not sure some of your family members would appreciate that, but I would. I would.
We could have a good time. Yeah. We take some great pictures.
So like, what do you have any like stories of like a crazy back in the day, like a crazy Halloween party you went to that is so memorable that you can't forget it?
Yeah, let me tell you my version of a crazy Halloween party. I'm
Okay.
at Bible college, and me and my unit mates decide to dress up as Noah's Ark.
Oh, wow.
So one of the girlfriends dressed up as Moses, and then we all
Yep.
dressed up as animals, and I was like the cheetah. So still sexy, but of course, freaking biblical.
How do people on the far right, because this is, again, for those of you that are unaware, Nikole used to be a pastor. That life is behind her now. But like, how do people on the extreme Christian right feel about Halloween?
Well, another example, this is my late 20s, I went to a Halloween party, and I did air quotes for those of you listening on the radio, where they wanted to reclaim it from like the darkness and evil. So we had to come dressed as our favorite saint, and we had to sit around the living room and tell stories about how the saint served God, so we could be inspired to also serve God with our lives. It was the most boring party I ever went to. I was like, I just want to dress up. I want to go out and have fun. I want to dance and get candy, but it was not allowed where I was living at the time. That was the only way to properly celebrate Halloween.
Oh, wow. Wow. How
Yeah.
about that? Wow. Another beauty of Halloween is that it doesn't matter whether you live in a big city or a small town somewhere. Kids are always going to have a great time. The idea of
Yes.
dressing up, it's all about having fun. Nothing
Yes.
to do with religion. At least you would hope it has nothing to do with religion, unless you dress up
Right.
as a nun. But I don't. If I see you in a sexy nun outfit, the first thing I think of is certainly not religion. I think of other things. So let me be very clear on that.
I
That's
love
for sure.
I love now making Halloween fun for my kids. Like, we did a Halloween party last weekend for like 15 of my kids' friends, and like it was so fun. Games and snacks and activities, and I'm like, this is what the holiday is about. Getting together, having fun, making memories, nothing more.
I love it. I love it, and Halloween's always been one of my favorite holidays because, again, it's nothing to do with religion. It's about you put on it's individuality, right? You put on a costume that you want to put on that makes you comfortable. It could be a sexy outfit. It could be something not sexy, something that makes you look like a gremlin. Whatever the case may be, we all laugh. We all have a good time. It's all about enjoying yourself, and I love it that the kids are involved too. It's about getting candy and just being with your friends, and we need that right now. I wish every week we had Halloween, quite frankly, but
Right?
it's cool. Yeah, so I'm
About
looking forward to
self-expression. I love
absolutely.
that. Yeah.
I'm looking forward to having some fun tomorrow night with some friends, and I can't wait to tell the stories on Monday because it's going to be a lot of fun.
I want to hear it. Did you spend any money on Halloween this year? Have you bought anything?
I'll put it to you this way. No. A short answer, no. I have a mutual friend who's going to the same party that I am going to, and they're providing me with a Ghostbusters outfit. I'm going to be dressed up because the party I'm going to is a Ghostbusters theme, and
Oh my
I'm
gosh.
probably not allowed to say too much about it because it's a private party. But let's just say some actors from the movie are going to be there. So
Oh my
I wanted
gosh.
to wear a Ghostbusters outfit.
You have
It's
to.
it's a pretty basic generic outfit, but
Okay.
the
I
guy
was
that
curious. Oh,
the
go ahead.
guy that is putting on this party, okay, I'm not going to say his name, but the guy that's putting on this party he told me he's going to be in makeup for 6 hours, and
Oh.
he wouldn't tell me what he is. He wouldn't tell me what he's going to be. He wouldn't tell me what he is. But there's going to be the Ghostbusters team. Original cars from the movie are going to be there.
Get out.
Yeah, and
Ryan, I'm flying in. You tell him you have an extra
well,
VIP member
you
coming.
should, man. You'd be invited if you wanted to come out. But yeah, it's gonna be the celebrities that are gonna be there and everything. It's gonna be a good time. So I'm definitely looking forward to it. And Vegas is, today is something called Nevada Day, Nikole. I don't know if you know, but we have this day called Nevada Day, and they have a hockey game that I'm going to be going to. The Vegas Golden Knights are playing at 3 p.m. today because it's Nevada Day. So you got a lot of stuff going on today. That's all
That's
it's a lot.
so fun.
Yeah.
The reason I was asking if you had spent any money because I was doing some research on Halloween, so I'm just curious.
Yeah.
Guess how much Americans spend on Halloween every year? I was shocked to learn this number.
I'm going to
What
say
would
at
be your
least
guess?
maybe 1,000.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Oh, like individually?
Yeah.
Or okay. What do you think like
500 to
nationally?
1,000.
What do you
Oh,
think nationally?
billions. I'd say billions.
I would never have guessed that because I just don't know. But yeah,
Yeah.
we spend on average $9 billion
Yeah.
as a
Yeah.
country, which only breaks down to, shockingly enough, $100 per person. So
Oh,
that surprised me.
that's
With all the
less than I
candy
thought.
and costumes and decor, I
Yeah.
totally thought people
Think about
spent
it.
way more than that.
Like you said it, the costumes, the candy. Let's not forget the adults that go to a bunch of parties everywhere. I know that Vegas is really happy about it because all the nightclubs are making even more business. I can't even begin to tell you how crazy the Strip is.
Oh my God.
I moved to this town 20 years ago, and it was never like it is today. I mean, I went there the other night. I was on the Strip. I had dinner with my family and a friend, and we went to a really good steakhouse, Wolfgang Puck's Steakhouse, over at Venetian. And on a normal night during the week, it's not going to be very crowded. You would think the weekends it's going to be a little crazy. It felt like it was like a New Year's Eve. A New Year's Eve. There were so many people on the Strip. I couldn't believe it. It was hard to even park down there. And I'm like, wow, Vegas is just turning into like it's crazy on the Strip now. It doesn't matter what night you're out there. And then we got the F1, right? The racing event, and that's coming up here in several weeks. And that's kind of screwing everything up as far as construction and everything. Like I'm thinking of like going out to Miami for a few days for a mini vacation during that race weekend.
Take me with you. I love Miami. We'd have so much fun.
Hey, I'm all for it, man. If you want to come down to Miami and you're going to be walking around in a two-piece, I'll be like Donald Trump. I'll be like, I'll just strut you around and be like, hey, look at this one. Look at this one. I'll be like the Donald Trump. No, in all seriousness, like
I'm down.
I haven't been to Miami since I was 18 years old.
Oh my gosh.
And I want to, I definitely am. I think the Raiders play the Dolphins in that weekend. So it's in the middle of November. So yeah, you're absolutely invited if you'd want to come out. We're going to have a good time. A couple of my friends are coming out there with me, and we're going to definitely have some fun. And I want to spend a little bit of time on the beach because I don't get to do that very often.
You have to. Yeah.
And I'm very white. I'm very pasty. I'm very pasty skinned. As you can see, I'm very white. Sometimes I look deathly ill. So I need a tan, Nikole, desperately.
Yes, you guys, our listeners, we are going to have a pretty woman day with Brian. We're going to get him all manicured, pedicured up. We're going to get him tanned. We're going to get him a fresh outfit. It's coming. We've got you, Brian.
I got to tell you, man, I feel like I appreciate that. I feel like, what's the word I'm looking for? A charity case sometimes, because I have a friend of mine that just opened up a massage parlor. And then she's like, Brian, I got to give you a free massage. And I said, okay, I'll do that tonight. I don't have a girlfriend right now. So I'm like, okay, let's do it. How do you feel about that though? Like if you have a man in your life or a girlfriend or whatever, how do you feel about like the opposite sex touching them during a massage? Is that like because I know some married couples, they're not comfortable with that. How do you feel about that?
I am totally okay with opposite gender doing my partner. I actually will only get a massage from a woman. I've had a couple bad experiences with male massage therapists, unfortunately. And so I don't feel safe anymore. So I only will get a massage therapist, but I'm totally fine with a woman massaging my male partner. I'm like, have at it. Make them feel good.
Well, Nikole, we have that in common because I don't want a man touching me either. So we surprisingly, we agree on that. So it's going to be a fun weekend and I can't wait for the party tomorrow. And what am I doing Sunday? I think I'm supposed to be playing golf Sunday. I don't even, and then watch some football. That's usually, and then the Raiders play on Monday. So we're going to have to do a little bit of that. I hate to be a spoiler alert here with some sad news, but it's like, I don't understand why some of these celebrities, decide to break the law. I guess they're human beings just like anybody else. But I have been an avid fan of Home Improvement, and this guy Zachary Bryan, I guess he just pled guilty to a felony assault, and he just has had to report to jail. What do you make of this story?
My heart broke because my favorite show growing up was Home Improvement. I loved the whole family. I loved Tim and Jill. I loved all three boys. My crush was Jonathan Taylor Thomas, of course, but Zach was the big brother. And when I saw that he just went to jail for felony assault, and then I did more research, and he's been to court before for domestic violence that he's pled guilty to. It made me so sad. Like, why would you ever hurt? And then one of his comments was, I didn't even assault her that hard. I'm like, whoa, Zach, no.
Yeah, that's you can't make statements like that. And it's like you're throwing away your career too. It's like some of these people, they have, like the guy Masterson, right? I mean, everybody knew who he was, a household name in the business. And little did we know that he was a rapist, right? I didn't know that about him. I'm sure you didn't. And what he did to at least these two women, and these are only the two women that came forward. Who knows if he's done this to other women? I would venture to guess he probably has. And he just had to give up the rights to his daughter. So I would imagine, the mother of his child will be able to take care of their daughter. And the daughter has to now grow up knowing that her father, eventually she'll learn, is a rapist. I mean, it's just, I don't understand it. I really don't. And obviously, sexual assault, rape is probably one of the worst crimes you could ever commit. And I say to myself, first of all, what sick person would want to be intimate with another person unwilling? I mean, I can't even fathom that. Don't you want to be with somebody that wants to be with you?
Yeah.
And I guess it's a mental illness, hate, sickness. I don't even know what to call it, but like, I don't even know why anyone would even dream of committing a crime like that. It's not the way I was raised and not the way I am, but like, I just some sick people out there in the world. And unfortunately, even some of them are wealthy and prominent people.
It's devastating. I don't get it either. I don't have a bone in my body that wants to hurt anyone. And so when I see people not only hurt someone, but repeatedly hurt people, like this is how they and who they are, how they operate and who they are. It's just like, why? And especially when you have so much power, influence, wealth that could be used for so much good, but instead you use it to harm people.
Yeah.
It does not make sense.
It doesn't. Another serious topic. I know it's supposed to be a lighthearted Friday with you, but there's so many things in the world that I want to ask you. You come from, a life of evangelical, right, Christian family, and I know you're not in that realm anymore, but you used to be a pastor. The new House GOP speaker, last name Johnson, he asked people, "What are your policies and what do you believe in?" And he says, "Everything that's in the Bible." This is a guy that believes that there should be no exceptions for whether it's rape or incest, when it comes to abortion. I mean, is that, for the most part, is that everybody that you used to be in your realm growing up and they believe that way, that not only do they call themselves pro-life, but even if there's no exceptions for the mother or for rape or incest, I just don't know how people could think that way. But isn't that the way most people think that, the group that you used to be a part of when you were a pastor?
Yeah, there was no exception. And there were certain pockets within the group that would say, okay, for rape or incest, but as a whole, there was no exception. And there was this attitude of like, the woman deserved it. It's like she must have put herself in that position, so she deserves the consequences of that action. And it's like so punitive towards the woman. But then I'm like, why is the man always let off the hook? Where's his accountability? Where is him coming through for child support? Where's his preemptive vasectomy until he's ready to be a father? Like, it's
Right.
all the blame and shame is put on the woman, and then she bears the brunt of responsibility, and then we don't support her because she caused it.
God, it's just
Horrible.
so terrible, and it's not just far right Christianity. There's a lot of religions out there, extremists when it comes to religion, that I'm obviously not in favor for. But I see what's going on in the Middle East and the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, and they could say it's all about land, but I beg to differ. I think a part of that is certainly about land, but I also think a part of it is an ideology that people disagree with, a religion that you disagree with. And I just feel like I'm not telling everybody to be an atheist. I think it's important in your life to have some faith and belief. I have absolutely no problem with that. And I'm not an atheist myself. I do believe that there is a God out there. At least I'd like to believe that. But at the same time, I just feel like religion as a whole does far more harm to people than good. What do you say to that?
I mean, I skew towards that belief because I was in it for so long. I saw the harm firsthand. I saw the discrimination. I saw the segregation. I saw the oppression. I experienced those things. And it got worse the higher I rose up in ranks. And I'm just like, this is toxic from the inside out. And I know for some people it's community and there's like faith and hope in there. And that's amazing. But there are so many toxic components to it. Like the only way I could save myself was by completely leaving it.
I don't blame you. I don't know how you did it, quite frankly, but I'm glad you're out of that cult, because that's what I think it is. I think extremists in any religion are cultists, and it's about power, and it's about telling people what to do. Religion should be a personal thing, a personal choice, and you do what you want to do. Don't let anybody tell you what to do. And if you want to just pray in your home, go ahead and do that. If you want to pray to the tooth fairy, you can do that too. I really don't care. I just don't want it to affect me. And I don't want it to affect policy and politics. And I think that's infiltrated our political spectrum. And I think it's wrong. Religion is a personal thing, just like your sexuality. It's like, I don't care whether you're gay or straight, do whatever you want, as long as it doesn't affect me. And quite frankly, gay marriage does not affect me at all. Go ahead and marry whoever you want to marry. As long as you're not breaking the law, I got no problem with it. That's the way I've always been.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like the extremists, in my what religion I was raised in, so much it was upon based upon indoctrination. Because if you can indoctrinate someone to believe a certain thing, then you control them, because you control the beliefs and you control what they believe. And now they will always do and follow you as you say. And like part of me walking away was unlearning and deprogramming, like, what is my truth versus their truth?
Right.
What do I want for myself in my life? And that was never allowed to be asked in those spaces. It was never what do I want? It's what does my pastor want for me? What do my parents want for me? What does my future husband, whom I've never met, want for me? Never, ever was my own autonomy or agency ever involved until I walked away and I realized how controlled I was because of how indoctrinated I had been.
Yeah. I'm so glad you made it out on the right side. That's for sure. And you're having fun and doing what you love to do now.
And I'm here with you, and we have so much fun.
Yes. I always love it when you join me every Friday, whether we're talking about Halloween costumes or abortion. It's always a good conversation. Can you do me a favor? Can you give out your social medias? How do people follow you, and how can people learn more about you?
Yes, come to my main website, NikoleMitchell.com. Nikole spelled with a K, Nikole. You're welcome to join my OnlyFans. I was live on there 3 times this week. We have so much fun. We play games, and there's giveaways, and there's conversations, and amazing stuff happens there. And also come check me out on all the other socials, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. I'm there for you.
And maybe, just maybe, you'll be able to see me and Nikole, mainly Nikole, walking around on a beach in Miami in a few weeks. Just maybe that might happen. And then maybe we can go, and then maybe we can do the shopping thing in Miami.
Oh my gosh, that's so much fun.
Yes, maybe we can do that. Nikole, it is always a pleasure. Thank you so much for joining us. I can't wait to hear your Halloween stories next week. And I hope you have a fantastic Halloween and a great weekend with your family, okay?
Thank you, Brian. You have a great weekend.
Thank you, Nikole. You too. Love Nikole. She's the best. Always appreciate it when she comes on. I always love the fact that we can talk about anything with her. We could talk about anything. We could talk about politics. We could talk about Halloween costumes. We could talk about the sex industry, and I love that about Nikole. She's open to be talking about anything, and I appreciate her. Different type of guest we had in the first hour. I appreciate Amy Tarkanian. Not that I'm talking about the sex industry with Amy, but I love the fact that, I could ask questions to Amy about virtually anything in the political realm, whether the Republican Party, whatever, and she's willing to give me an honest answer, and I love that. I really do. Seth Moulton's going to be joining us next week. That's a great guest, and I've had Seth on the show before. So Congressman Seth Moulton has won the highest of awards you can find when it comes to serving in our military, and he also ran against Nancy Pelosi to be the House Speaker years back. He's one of my favorite Democrats out there, and he's a hero, and he's going to be joining us. We're going to be talking about Israel, obviously going to be talking about maybe some of the extremists in his own party, among the Republican Party as well. So we'll definitely do that. We'll see if Chris Wynn joins us for an hour on Monday. I can only ask, ladies and gentlemen. I don't know what else to do.
I kind of hope so. Yeah, I miss him.
I can only ask. So I'll have him maybe join us for hour number 2 on Monday. Please join me on my socials, YouTube, at PTL Radio Show, and, of course, TikTok, the Facebook fan page, and also check me out on Occupy Democrats, because my videos have infiltrated Occupy Democrats. So check that out as well. And again, thank you to my guests, Amy Tarkanian and Nikole Mitchell, for joining us. It's always a pleasure with them. Thanks for joining us, everybody. The Vegas Golden Knights game starts at 3 p.m. today. I'm heading out there. Then I'm going to get my massage. I'll let you know how that goes. It's a comp massage, so I don't know. My friend owns this massage parlor, so I don't know how it's going to go down. We'll have to wait and see. And then, of course, big Halloween party tomorrow night that I'm really looking forward to. I did invite Vivica A. Fox. She couldn't make it because she's filming a movie that's I guess that's more important. I don't know. And boy, we have a lot of basketball to get to. We got college basketball right around the corner. Thanks for joining us, everybody. We'll see you Monday. Have a great day.